guys, so it's been a while since I've done a rant video, so we're gonna do a rant video. For my younger viewers, you probably maybe have not encountered this issue yet. Give it time, I'm sure you will with age, but for the rest of us, I am positive we have all lived it on at least some of these, if not all of these, and it's the whole planned obsolescence of media formats, and the company's expecting us to repurchase the same things over and over and over again, and it's kind of bullshit. I mean, being part of as many fandoms as I am, it kind of spans across all the media formats, really, but I think I first really had it happen with video formats. So, being a baby of the 80s, I grew up with VHS tapes. I still, to this day, have a very sizable collection of VHS tapes. I have, in fact, almost an entire closet full of them, which is really pathetic, all things considered, and I've done my best since then trying to upgrade a lot of them to newer formats, just because finding TVs that have VCR that still works is like trying to find one that'll hook to is getting harder and harder. And of those TVs, I'd kind of like to keep them for my older gaming systems that can't be hooked up to current ones without lag input. So that pretty much leaves me in a position of having to upgrade these. But not all the things got upgrades, so I kind of have to hang on to those things because of it. And some could argue, well, if it never got a release on something newer, then it probably wasn't that good. Yeah, fuck yourself. So anyway, that's also not even including home videos and things that there's literally no way of doing that without a converter, and I don't have a converter. So, fine. I saw VHS make the leap into DVDs. And by the point when I had a very, very sizable VHS collection already by this point. And yet, I slowly, piece by piece, bit by bit, started to repurchase as many of the things I had on VHS on DVD. And I actually didn't mind it because the picture quality's better, even though, being the stickler I am, certain things it cuts off the edges of the original screen, but that's okay. Yellow Submarine is a very good example of this. Actually, the only version of it for a home release that's closest to having the full frames from the theatrical release on it is, in fact, the VHS version. No DVD or Blu-ray version ever since has had as much on the screen, but I digress. I've seen this with quite a few different examples, but that's like the most famous one that comes to mind that I have in my possession. So fine, I did that, and I certainly didn't mind not having to rewind things after I watched them, didn't mind not having to fiddle with tracking and shit. It seemed like a good leap. And then fucking Blu-ray came along. For years, I was just like, I'm gonna wait this one out, because I remember what happened with Betamax. I still have a couple Betamax tapes laying around too, just for the record. I remember what happened with Laserdisc. I still have some of those laying around too. I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be another little flash-in-the-pan thing like those. And after enough years, okay, fine. It stuck enough to where I finally invested in a fucking Blu-ray player and started to buy some of the things on Blu-ray. I didn't go back through everything the same way that I did when I was overhauling the VHS tapes in moving things over to Blu-ray now. I don't have the money to do that. If I did, if I had the space to have everything a third time over, maybe I would. But I don't. So I pretty much picked and chose of the things I have, the ones that I deem the most important. So fine. Repurchase them, and a lot of them, the sad thing, other than just clearer quality, there was no bonus material on them. It was literally just straight up the movie itself. I basically wasted my fucking money. Good job. Slow clap. Slow clap. So then, we start getting things coming out in digital on like Amazon and such. I cannot make myself do the thing unless there is literally no other release of something. Because I like to own the physical thing and have it in my hands and not have to worry about, is a service someday going to pull the content, and now that money that you spent on that thing, oh, just poof into the ether and you don't have the thing anymore, and that's that. Sorry, sucks for you. And I know people it's happened to. I'm usually the one they come running to because they know I had the physical copy of a thing. They're like, could you please make me a copy of the thing, because blah blah blah, iTunes or Amazon took it off the site for no given reason and did it. Fine. I'm usually the go-to person for that. I wouldn't do it just any old time, but I mean, if it's something they owned in the first place anyway, and the service took it off, and their money was just blown for nothing, I feel like that's a little more forgivable of a reason. Anyway, so I can't bring myself to get behind blowing money on it when there's no even physical thing to have to make sure that I am going to own down the line. Who knows what other formats they'll come up with too. I'm sure there'll be more, but this one I cannot bring myself to do the thing. I can barely do the thing with Blu-ray, but I really cannot do the thing to digital. So then with music, this one's much more of a linear progression that people know of. Even if they weren't in on it, they at least know of it. Going from vinyl to 8-track, from 8-track to cassette, from cassette to CD, from CD to MP3 and digital and the streaming sites, and sometimes they're not even like buying it, they're just subscribing to Spotify and calling it a fucking day. I've been around to see all of that. I have been here and basically replaced my music collection over and over and over and over again. That many times. And that is not counting when artists decide to be total greedy douchefucks and they're like, so yeah, this album that I released 40 years ago, I'm gonna re-release it. Oh, another 10 years went by, so I'm gonna re-release it again. And I'm gonna re-release that. And by the way, here's a deluxe version of that re-release. Now here's a super deluxe version of that re-release. God forbid that you skip buying them, otherwise you lose fandom credibility. They have you by the balls. Because sure, yeah, you could just skip and go, I've already bought this. I don't know how many freaking times over. Paul McCartney, I'm looking at you with Band on the Run. How many times? I think I've bought it 6 times now. In different versions. Anyway, it's not the only album that's happened with either, but it is probably disgusting how much of my money has gone to Paul McCartney because of this shit. But regardless, they re-release it on the same format, no less. But that is not even including the different format leaps. I mean, at least when it's going from generation to generation, like the vinyl to the 8-track, to the 8-track to the cassette to the CD. Okay, fine. I can get behind that. Because with the times, yeah, those have become far more obsolete than with the video formats. And I'd rather not lose my music collection because of that obsolescence. I mean, yeah, vinyl has made a comeback, but at the same time, I don't want that to be my only version of the music I own. Does it stop me from buying vinyls? Fuck no, I like having my artwork and liner notes all big like that. And I like the tone that I get from vinyl, but I don't want it to be my only copy of it. I don't actively buy 8-tracks anymore, but I grew up with them as a kid. Same with cassettes. I don't think I even have a working cassette player anymore, but I still have my collection of them from when I did, in case I should ever own one again, which is probably pathetic that I hold on to them, but as a collector, it's what you do. The CDs, though. I have a massive, massive CD a tower that's taller than I am, 4-sided, and it doesn't even fit all of them because it is so expensive at this point, and it doesn't even have room for the box sets and things because they don't fit in the shelves. Yep, it's like that. And it's just like, between the re-releases of things and just how many times over the formats have shifted, I'm only 35. It feels like it shouldn't have shifted the formats that many times already, right? But, it has, so I've been here for all of them, but regardless, I don't know. And I'm sure there'll be more in the future, too, but I have not been able to get behind just throwing my money at a subscription service like Spotify, because I like to own my music, thank you. Same thing with buying digitally, unless it's something that literally only got a digital release. I cannot do it. I want the physical copy in my freaking hands. I want my album artwork, I want my liner notes, and I want my physical copy. Because sure, you could make the argument, oh, but how are you going to play it in your car? How are you going to get it on your phone? Because I'm gonna pop it in my computer, rip it to DVD, and stick it on my phone. I mean, I'm not distributing it. It's literally just for me, so I am perfectly legally within my right to do that. And I do. Occasionally you run across one that has copyright protection on it. Yeah, there's programs around that, so. Anyway, but regardless, it's kind of bullshit. It's just like, nope, let's just keep milking the consumers for everything they are worth for the same content over and over and over again because they're stupid enough to keep paying it. And I will admit, yeah, I'm probably completely stupid and ridiculous because I keep paying it. And the literal definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And yet I do it anyway. Books have done this even, not as many times over, thank God, but I mean, sometimes they make the hardcover to paperback leap. And then there's the audiobook version, and there's the ebook version. Depending on how important the book is to me, sometimes I will spring for the hardcover, but frankly, who has the space to have all hardcover copies of books? Not to mention, the spine is firmer and it's harder to maneuver it around while you're reading it, so it's like, alright, a lot of times I'll get the paperback ones. Truth be told, though, if it's one that I really feel like I'm only gonna read the one time, I do have an e-reader so that I can just check them out from the library digitally and be good to go and not have blown money on something I'm literally gonna read once and never think about again the rest of my life, probably, so. Audiobooks, I feel like, are their own separate thing. Even though they're technically a format here, I feel like it's different enough, and it does add an entirely different level to it. Because, sure, you can have the same book and read it, and you can have the author of said book record an audiobook version, and you'll find that there are subtle differences between their reading, because sometimes they'll add in stuff that didn't make it into the book that they just kind of go off on a tangent with in their ebook version. Michael J. Fox, I'm looking at you. Elton John, I'm looking at you. Ellen Alda, looking at you. But anyway, yeah, that. So I feel like those are different enough to where, okay, even if I bought the book, I may also buy the ebook version, or the audiobook version, as well as either paperback or ebook. One of the other formats where I'm reading it with my eyeballs, I would like to also hear it with my ears, because I feel like it's a different thing. But at the same time, I'm just like, they get re-releases too. Sometimes good, sometimes worse, sometimes they're censored down from their original formats, and that pisses me off. Actually, this was a thing with part of why I keep some of my old VHS tapes too, like some of the Disney re-releases. Oh, excuse me, Aladdin. Oh, excuse me, Peter Pan. Yeah, because social justice warriors got those movies changed in their more recent releases, so I'm like, yeah, fuck that, I want the originals, thanks. Anyway. So. Gaming. It happens there too, although at least that one, you have more of an argument, because one generation of system to the next, completely different things, completely different ballgame. Alright, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I agree with you on that point. However, when it's literally just like a re-release of an old game, but on a newer system, like, let's say, with the Nintendo systems, how they always seem to re-release the old-school NES ones in the eShop, or in digital or virtual arcade, one or the other, depending on which generation you're on. They expect you to repurchase that old game from system to system to system. Doesn't matter if you bought the original Paper Mario on the original N64. Yeah, you're gonna have to buy it again on the Wii. You're gonna have to buy it again on the Wii U. You're gonna have to buy... I don't think it's even available now, but Actually, I'm not even sure if it made it past Wii, but I'm just throwing it out there as, like, an example. There's older games, like, let's say... I was gonna use Mario 3 as an example, but I mean, that one's just, like, in the digital arcade that if you have the online subscription, you can play that one for free in there. But one that you actually had to pay for, Mega Man 3, there's a perfect example, because I know that's not in that digital one. Fine. So, you bought the original copy back when the NES was out. Great. Now you had to buy it again on the Wii. You had to buy it again on the DS. You had to buy it again on the GameCube, on the Anniversary Edition. You had to buy it again on Wii U. I don't think they even have it available on the Switch, but if they do, it's the same exact game. They didn't add anything to it. The one Anniversary Edition, fine, yeah, that one added to it, but when it's like literally just the game itself, and it's the same exact release, just ported for another system, I feel like you should be at least allowed to transfer the purchase from one system to the next. You know, because it's the same exact game. They didn't add anything to it. It's just the same game, having the ability to play it on whatever the current system is. Kind of bullshit that they expect you to buy it, 5, 6 times for the same thing, just for the novelty of playing it on the current system. One could argue don't play the old games then. You know what? No, nostalgia's a bitch. I want my old games. But, it sucks, though. I'm just like, really? Some of these games I have indeed bought. That one was an example of one that I have bought over and over and over again. Especially because certain times with those re-releases on the more modern systems, they don't play the same, or they don't play correctly. The button pad's not in the same places, and it feels wrong, but on this release over here it's more correct, but it's more laggy, versus this one over here, it's like, I want one that's as true to the original as freaking possible. It shouldn't be that hard to ask. But yeah, that. But then you also have the digital copies too, that there's no physical game being purchased here, so it could poof into the ether. And I know with the Switch, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told that if your system goes down and you have to replace the whole console, you have to start all over. You can't transfer those purchases over again, and that is bullcrap. So I like, whenever it's humanly possible, to buy the physical cartridges, because at least I know even if I lose my save files, that's one thing I can live with that. But I want the games I fucking paid for fair and square, thank you, without having to buy them again for literally the same console, just because the first console unit died. So, I don't know, it just... It's one of those things that is a major, major pet peeve, and I've seen it over and over again, and I'm sure it's not the end of it. They'll keep doing it from generation to generation, wherever the hell's coming next. And it's annoying. And some of them become totally obsolete, like when there's an online service that is then discontinued, up, now you can literally never play that game again unless some third-party developer makes, like, a fan version of it that's still playable. I know that there were the Nintendo DSi games that could only be purchased through that eShop, and if you missed out on it before all of that shut down, there is literally no way physically possible to get those games now. Hang on, let me answer this message real quick and I'll wrap this up, because I'm almost done. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, it really bugs me that they think it's okay. I mean, I guess it's technically in their rights as the game developers and such to be able to do that. You create something so popular, you're gonna want to make as much profit as possible. I get that. I do. It just seems like there could be a happy medium between the two, where if it's like the same retro release with nothing further added to it, you could at least transfer the purchase between generation to generation, even though I know the porting is different, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that bugs me across all the formats to have to rebuy and rebuy and rebuy the same shit over and over again. And the limited resources to buy those, you know, that could have been going towards new releases is going towards these, and having to update them from system to system just to keep the collection going. Which sucks. But anyway. Like I said, I was almost done before I had to stop the video, so anywho. that's it from me for this one. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. Anyway, guys, till next time, bye-bye.